Thank you for joining us for Your Voice, Your Stories. I'm Randall Newsom. Each week, we're focusing on issues that impact your community and highlight the people working to make our neighborhoods better. This week, a new way to pay for transportation, and the cost depends on how far you drive. It's called a mileage-based user fee, and Maryland recently tested it out. Plus, a local church coming to terms with its racist past and becoming a welcoming sanctuary for the community. A look at how a piece of art is bringing that mission to life. And deadly flooding in historic Ellicott City over the last decade is pushing Howard County to build towards a better future, how it's working to keep history from repeating itself. But first, an update to a story we've been following about grieving families in a troubled crematorium. Here's Blair Sable.
A scathing inspection of a crematorium in Charles County has led to the resignation of 3 members of the oversight board as the governor has ordered a review top to bottom. Families now coming forward asking why it took the state so long to shut them down. A father, a brother, a 17-year-old child. These are just some of the faces of loved ones who families trusted in Heaven-Bound Cremation Services care, only to learn what was really happening behind the scenes.
Their practice, it was not only unethical, but I feel like it was evil.
It's like sticking a knife in your heart. You entrusted them with your loved one, and then you found out your loved one is almost like a piece of trash that's being thrown in the trash can.
Anthony Watkins lost his older brother, Owen Jackie Makel, last August. He didn't receive the remains until this past weekend after the business had been silent for months. He was watching WMAR 2 News when we revealed the business had faulty equipment and bodies in varying stages of decomposition. The Maryland Board of Morticians and Funeral Directors ultimately shut them down last month, but questions remain.
And if you have so many complaints since 2017, why is he still in business now? You know, why you allowed him to still be in business now when he should have been shut down earlier?
3 days after the inspection of the business, it was still open. That's when Caitlin Reese met in person to discuss plans for her father, who had just died suddenly at 52.
The smell of rotting, flesh mixed with incense and air freshener just kind of knocked us back.
In hindsight, she wonders how it was even possible they were still operating.
It felt like we weren't supposed to be there.
The news has shocked families across the DMV area, even those who were initially happy with their experience, like Latia and Derek Kennedy, who watched the cremation of their son at Heaven-Bound, but with the latest reports are questioning even what they saw with their own eyes.
I'm upset, really. It makes me question the integrity of everything they did.
If you have recently worked with Heaven-Bound, you can call the State Anatomy Board, which is now working with families to reunite them with their loved ones' remains. In Baltimore, Blair Sable, WMAR 2 News.
Maryland, like many other states, is scrambling to find a new funding source as revenues from the gas tax continues to decline. And they've been testing one option, a whole new model where drivers pay by the mile. We rely on roads to get to where we need to go, but how we pay to keep them up isn't always apparent.
When you go to the gas station and fill up, you see the price of gas and it's pretty high and you're pretty disappointed. But nowhere have we told people that a small portion of that is used to build roads and bridges.
The fuel tax is the largest source of revenue to fund state transportation projects. But over time, it's been in decline due to improved fuel economy, increased ownership in electric and hybrid vehicles, and changes in driver behavior. To get in front of this budget shortfall, Maryland turned to the Eastern Transportation Coalition for an alternative.
So we did a 4-month demonstration pilot in Maryland, and Maryland is one of 8 states right now along the East Coast that's trying to explore what would happen if we replaced the fuel tax with a distance-based approach.
Trish Hendren, the group's executive director, said 177 people participated in Maryland's pilot, and their mileage was measured in one of 4 ways.
So people could either take a picture of their odometer, they could have an app on their phone, they could plug a device into their car, and then people who have super fancy cars, there's some in-vehicle telematics they could use.
And what they found is that in general, drivers would have paid the same amount with an MBUF as they do in the fuel tax.
$23 per month is in the pilot what people on average paid, and that is what people on average pay in Maryland every month in fuel tax.
Participants received a printout that looked like this, showing how far they traveled, the taxes they currently pay, and the net difference per month. It's estimated this driver would have saved 66 cents with an MBUF. And while their mileage is logged, Trish said their whereabouts aren't tracked.
Hawaii just passed a program that they're going to use an odometer read in order to link that payment for using the roads. So there is no GPS on your odometer, so that is a way that we can make sure that we're hearing people's concerns.
Hawaii and 3 other states currently offer voluntary MBUF programs where a distance-based approach takes the place of an annual flat fee.
So, for example, in Virginia, they have a highway use fee. You can choose to pay it as a flat fee one time, or you can do based on the miles you drive, and that could be a monthly payment.
Trish said 30,000 drivers are doing it in Virginia, and she sees it as a model for Maryland, giving drivers the power to choose their path forward.
The issue is here now, and it will just continue to grow. So that's why we want to do the work, figure out a solution that is cost effective, that really addresses privacy and is fair. And so we can implement it slowly over time and make sure we don't go off that cliff.
In a statement, the Maryland Department of Transportation acknowledged that transportation funding is built on a broken business model, but they know changing it won't happen overnight. They support these efforts to find a sustainable alternative, and in the meantime, car registration fees increased last year, and an annual EV registration fee went into effect. Mallory Safaste, WMAR 2 News.
In July of 2016, 6 inches of rain fell in just 2 hours, sending floodwaters racing down Main Street of historic Ellicott City, claiming 2 lives. And just 2 years later, a similar flash flood left a National Guardsman dead, who had been trying to rescue others.
We were just talking about it, and it was devastating. It was devastating to watch.
An unsettling chapter in the town's long history that locals like Megan McGowan will never forget.
It was just tragic. I mean, absolutely tragic. So to do our best to prevent that in the future is again, I think something that, we as citizens of the area want to see.
Now the county showing citizens the progress it's making in trying to cut down on the flooding by building a huge tunnel, a mile long, to divert water away from Main Street.
The 18-foot diameter structure will have the capacity to channel water at a rate of 26,000 gallons per second.
The county also is building retention ponds that will keep tens of millions of gallons of water from racing down through the town. The county has received commitments to provide every single dollar for the entire project, but there are no guarantees.
I think we are seeing through numerous executive orders uncertainty about funding, whether it's to our nonprofits or just federal funding overall. And so we are continuing to evaluate the impacts.
The hope for the money to complete the project is one shared by longtime residents, mindful they remain at risk until the next big storm appears with little notice.
We were just noticing there's some apartments over there right next to the river. I was like, I don't know that I'd feel completely comfortable yet being right down here, but hopefully.
But if we get heavy rains, you're heading to high ground?
Yes, for right now, yeah.
In historic Ellicott City, Jeff Hager, WMAR 2 News.
As a child, Leah Gilmore walked past this church often with her mom, and she wanted to go in it.
But my mother told me, we're not welcome. We're not welcome there. It's for whites only.
That was 50 years ago. Now, Gilmore is a minister here, charged with helping the congregation get beyond its racist past.
We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved.
Govans Presbyterian Church is on York Road in North Baltimore. It was founded here in 1844 on land that was a former plantation. Enslaved people helped build it.
We are very, very an important part of this community.
Times change, people change. In the last 20 years, Govans has become a progressive, affirming congregation.
There's such an incredible thing that's happening here. We do have young families, but we also have a lot of older people who have seen the changes in this church, but who are also very active in making those changes happen.
African Americans make up about 15% of the members and hold several leadership positions.
We have those people like me who are direct ancestors of enslaved Americans who are an incredible part of this church, an incredible part of how God wanted it, all of us together in unity, working for justice.
Gilmore was hired 3 years ago to lead the church's social justice efforts. They've held concerts and other activities promoting diversity. They also run a soup kitchen and other outreach programs.
Just like a tree that's planted by the waters.
This week marks a milestone for the church, the installation of a commissioned work, Sanctuary, by Baltimore artist Kai Vassar. It captures the past and more recent footnotes in the area's history.
Oh, jubilant, jubilant.
Katrina Parsons chairs the church's Racial Justice Committee. She says the images depicted in the acrylic murals mean that all are welcome here.
The squeegee person, there's a trans person, there's a representation of Freddie Gray and other people that have been killed by police violence. And I just love the way she's also incorporated the hands reaching out from the divine.
The church is holding a public dedication of the artwork on Sunday. Members will celebrate how far they've come and reflect on how much more there is to do.
We shall not be moved.
In North Baltimore, Maria Morales, WMAR 2 News.
Subscribe to us on YouTube.
Welcome back. As we celebrate Black History Month, a local filmmaker is reflecting on the Freddie Gray protest in Baltimore nearly 10 years later. But first, they're big, yellow, and they're unique to Baltimore. But after this story, you're going to see those iconic salt boxes on the street corners in a different light.
Someone probably put a 311 in about it being graffiti or something that thankfully we ignored. But in Baltimore, we saw art.
On Thursday evening, community members and artists alike assembled at the Cathedral Street location of the Enoch Pratt Public Library.
We have built a community through these. I've met new artists through the salt boxes.
To celebrate salt boxes. Yes, those salt boxes.
Yeah, now I actually pay attention to them. Like, I was like, oh, it's a salt box, and I kept driving. Now I'm like, oh, who painted that one? Like,
Jasmine Manning is a local artist who painted one of those salt boxes and appears tonight on a documentary celebrating the creative collaboration between the Department of Transportation and artists like herself.
Baltimore doesn't always get shown in such an exciting light, and I think this is one of those things that it's an amazing phenomenon.
Interim Baltimore City DOT Director Veronica Macbeth tells me it's exciting to see people coming together to celebrate something so unique to Baltimore.
It's taken Twitter by storm. I think it's taken social media by storm, and I think it's really exciting to see people come out for such a fun event and to see the creatives of Baltimore get to express themselves.
Alongside the documentary, a gallery exhibition highlighting the history of salt boxes, their present, and their future.
I think it's part of the allure of Baltimore City. And it's also a communal, you know, I know that in my neighborhood, it's a small, narrow street, and I get to get out there with my neighbors, good, bad, and different, and we get to shovel salt together in the street, and it kind of brings you together.
Mayor Scott attending the event expressing his excitement for the colorful containers.
We are a city with such rich culture and originality. We're a city of creators, and that is celebrated in our team spirit and by our institutions. This exhibition is a celebration of that diversity.
And Jasmine tells me that this collaboration was not only enjoyable, but beneficial for the Baltimore arts community as a whole.
it brings more attention to us as artists. You have something so public art, they're gonna see it. It's not just on a canvas, it's not just sitting on the wall in your house. You're driving, you end up seeing a picture you like or a painting by an amazing artist, and you wanna connect with them, network with them, and maybe get a piece, purchase a piece, and pour back into the art community, especially the Baltimore art scene. So it's great.
In Baltimore, Felix Abson, WMAR 2 News.
I never knew how traumatized I was by death.
His leg broken, y'all dragging him like that.
So I think Freddie Gray was where the world was traumatized by his death. But I think growing up in Baltimore, we always kind of dealt with death.
Freddie Gray's death back in April of 2015 sparked the biggest uprising in Baltimore's recent history. After his death, there were 17 days of protesting.
All day, we will fight for Freddie Gray.
The protest brought together different groups and communities across Baltimore City.
This was something that was organized, put together from the people of Baltimore, and it was ground level, and I was able to be there and witness it.
During the protests and unrest, Baltimore City was getting national attention. The media televised the anger, pain, and division of the city. But David saw the protests differently. Through his lens, he saw the raw emotion of those moments. Now, decades later, David has decided to share those images in the form of a coffee table book called Black Body, Baltimore in Black and White. He says he wants people to see those images and be reminded of the impact the protests had in Baltimore.
There was a lot of emotions when you think about what was going on in Baltimore at that particular time. So to see something frozen in time is really very interesting with all the impact that the riots and things had on the city.
And that particular time was the first time I ever witnessed anything like that in my life. You know, so by me even seeing the pictures in the pages, like, okay, dang, I have this type of connection to a time that is monumental.
Although David didn't grow up dreaming of being a photographer, it was the very thing that changed his life.
Me discovering a camera opened up my world.
Being able to capture and share pivotal moments in Baltimore's history.
The camera gave me access to a different Baltimore with a different passion.
He says although back in 2015 he didn't know how big of an impact Freddie Gray's death would have on the city, he understood it was important to capture.
The people, the faces, everything is just so organic and so real. So for someone who's not from Baltimore, if they get my book, they'll feel like they're from Baltimore. But I'm quite sure if someone's from Baltimore and they get my book, they'll see the relationship and the connection.
His mom saying he always had a way of seeing people through a different lens and capturing their essence.
That individual that's probably sitting on the stairs, sitting on the steps, thinking no one even sees them, notice them. Here come David with a camera and making them feel relevant.
But David's talents aren't just limited to taking photos. Picking up the camera has also led him to work with others on new, unique projects.
I never realized how the power of imagery and the power of collaboration, but the camera helped me navigate through Baltimore and work with so many great artists, meet so many entrepreneurs.
One of those entrepreneurs is Andre Miles, who David met playing basketball growing up. Miles has his own clothing line in Baltimore called Republic.
We come from y'all same conditions, and we showing y'all what we are capable of doing, how great we are as black men to make it up out of this city and do something great.
The two men are releasing a clothing line collaboration focusing on promoting Black brotherhood.
Black is beautiful, Black is rich, Black is creative, Black is empowering, Black is joyful.
Miles says he's excited for the release, and he's hopeful the message reaches other young men in Baltimore. He says this is more than just clothing.
Everything is about emotion. When you have an emotional connection to something, it's broader than just having something so tangible in your hand.
And David says he hopes his story can inspire other young minds to find their dreams, explore new ideas, and leave their own legacy in the world. Janae Wright, WMAR 2 News.
Follow us on Facebook.
Well, right before the Super Bowl, it's a game with some cute and fluffy players that'll grace your screen. It's the Puppy Bowl, and we have one local all-star who's taking the field to show off her skills.
Almost too fast for the camera to catch. That's Lottie, the 7-month-old puppy coming soon to screens across the country this Sunday for the Puppy Bowl. Irene Skricky with Operation Pause for Homes tells me Lottie's name was Abigail when they recorded the puppy bowl. She adds Lottie was a perfect fit, always having a toy in her mouth since she was with her litter.
You nominate in August. You find out in early September which puppies have been chosen. So this year we had 2 puppies selected. Most years we have 2 to 3 that get in. And again, there's rescues all around the country doing this. And then they go to filming in October.
During this process, the Testermans in Forest Hill were already eyeing the pup to become the newest addition to their family.
My wife and I were talking, and I did a little more research, and Abigail happened to still be there, kind of a little bit of fate there.
But when they finally said yes, they were surprised to find out they now had a celebrity in the family.
So I think it's cool that people get to see how a shelter dog can really be a great fit for a family.
Brinley Testerman says all this has made Lottie very popular among her friends at school.
And they always ask, like, when is it? What's her name? How can they watch it? What channel it is? And it's really fun.
Just thinking about Lottie puts a smile on little Caleb Testerman's face.
She definitely is very playful. If she does play with you, she's very nice.
Douglas says from the videos he's already seen, Lottie was the most energetic dog.
So we've seen her score touchdowns, and I know the referee at one point called a touchdown. Lottie went over to him and started licking his face. Lottie is just a perfect example of what an addition a dog can be, and really a blessing to a family can be.
The Puppy Bowl kicks off this Sunday afternoon at 2. And even though Lottie found her forever home already, there are still many dogs in shelters looking for a family. Head to WMAR2news.com for information on how to foster or adopt. In Harford County, Raven Payne, WMAR2 News.
And if you have stories you'd like us to cover, we want to hear from you. Email us at storyideas@WMAR.com. That's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to tune in again next week for Your Voice, Your Stories. I'm Randall Newsom.